Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly, while others, just as smart, just as hardworking, stay stuck in the same financial struggle year after year? Is it luck, inheritance, connections, or is there something deeper? This is not just another talk about money. This is a truth they don't teach you in school, a truth hidden in plain sight. That wealth is not about what's in your wallet. It's about what's in your mind. This is a war not fought with weapons, but with thoughts. Not on the battlefield, but inside your belief system. And if you're ready to take control of your life, your legacy, your future, then let me tell you, the greatest battle you'll ever fight is the one between the limits you've been taught and the power that's been in you all along. Welcome to the truth about wealth. It's not motivational fluff. It's a wake-up call. Let's begin. The truth about wealth, it's a mental game. There is a silent war being fought every day, not in the streets, not on the battlefield, but in the minds of those who dare to dream. It's a war between limitation and liberation, between the programming of poverty and the mindset of wealth. And you are the battleground, because before wealth ever shows up in your life, before the cars, the homes, the investments, the accolades, it first appears as a whisper in the mind, a flicker of belief, a decision. The world will try to tell you that wealth is a matter of luck, inheritance, or circumstance. But those who've built empires, from dust they know the truth. It's all a mental game. Andrew Carnegie knew it when he stood barefoot in the smoky steel mills of Pittsburgh. Henry Ford knew it when he envisioned an automobile in every driveway while others laughed in their horse-drawn carriages. Thomas Edison knew it when the world labeled him a fool for failing 10,000 times. They all knew something most never realize. You must become rich in mind long before you become rich in life, because wealth is not dollars, wealth is not gold, wealth is not status, wealth is a frequency, and your mind is either tuned into it or tuned out of it. And the difference, belief. The mind is the master power that molds and shapes your reality. Every thought you allow to live rent-free in your head becomes a brick in the house you're building, the house of your destiny. If you think small, you live small. If you think fear, you live in chains. But if you think abundance, if you breathe it, see it, speak it, walk with it, your life must follow, not because of magic, but because of alignment. Most people are walking contradictions. They say they want success, but their habits worship failure. They speak of wealth, but they breathe scarcity. They dream of freedom, but they serve comfort like a god. They wait for a sign, a breakthrough, a mentor, a moment, but the only thing they really need is a shift. A violent, irreversible shift in their own thinking. That's where it begins. That's where it has to begin. See, your mind is like a field. Your dominant thoughts are the seeds. Plant weeds, get weeds, plant greatness. With time, persistence, and care, you'll grow. You'll grow an orchard that feeds generations, but no one will do the planting for you. That's your job. That's the price of the game, and you can't play to win if you're still playing to fit in. Let that sink in. Wealth doesn't flow to those who conform, it flows to those who break the mold. The rebels, the risk-takers, the unreasonable, the ones who stare reality in the face and refuse to accept it as final. That's the mindset that births fortunes. But don't confuse mindset with motivation. This isn't about hype. This isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. and screaming affirmations into your mirror like a maniac. No. This is about identity. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. And until you rewire the identity behind the desire, the wealth you seek will always be out of reach. If your self-image is broke, your bank account will follow. If you believe you're undeserving, the universe will agree. Every time you say, I can't afford that, your subconscious records it like gospel. Every time you think, that's not for people like me, you sign a contract with scarcity. You become your beliefs. That S, not a cliche. That's neuroscience. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It simply accepts what you feed it over and over and over again until that becomes your baseline. So, if you want to change the game, you have to change what you're feeding your mind. You have to become the architect of your inner world, because your outer world will always reflect it. Think about the greats. A master once spent 25 years studying the wealthiest minds in the world, and the conclusion was clear. Riches begin in the mind. Every millionaire was once a dreamer. Every billionaire was once told, it can't be done. Every titan of industry began not with capital but with clarity, and clarity is power. When you don't know what you want, The world will decide for you. It will hand you a script, go to school, get a job, retire at 65, pray you have enough to survive. But if you want to thrive, if you want to build legacy wealth, you must throw away the script, you must write your own. You must become a visionary. Vision is not optional. Vision is oxygen. Without it, you suffocate in the mediocrity around you. You drift, you scroll, you binge, you waste years chasing nothing. But when your vision is clear, when it burns inside you like fire, distractions die, doubts vanish, and discipline becomes instinct. Vision gives pain a purpose. It gives struggle a name. It makes every sacrifice worth it because you see the prize, you see the future, and you're willing to become the person it demands. But don't get it twisted. Vision without action is delusion, and this is where most people lose. They fall in love with the idea of success, but refuse to marry the process. They want the crown without the climb. They want the feast without the hunt. But wealth doesn't bow to wishes. It answers to work, strategic, focused, relentless work. So you must wake up with intention. You must move with strategy. You must become the kind of person who doesn't wait for opportunity, but creates it. Discipline is the bridge between your vision and your reality, and that bridge is built daily. Let others hit snooze, you get up. Let others talk, you execute. Let others complain, you adapt, because while the world scrolls, you build. While they hesitate, you decide. And decision, my friend, is everything. Decision is not a moment. It's not a quote on your wall or a note in your journal. It's a way of life. You don't make a decision once. You remake it every single day. When it's raining, when you're tired, when no one believes in you, when the numbers don't look right, when the voice in your head whispers, maybe this isn't for you. That is when the decision is tested. That is when the game gets real, and most people, they fold. They retreat to comfort, back to the herd, back to safety, where dreams go to die quietly, but not you. Not if you understand what's really at stake here. Because wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about power. It's about giving your children a life they don't have to recover from. It's about building something that outlives you. Wealth is purpose materialized, but here's the catch. Purpose without discipline is just noise. The world is loud with talkers, loud with dreamers, loud with people who almost made it, but the ones who break through, the ones who rise to the top, they are the ones who decide and discipline their lives around that decision. They don't need motivation to move. They don't wait for the perfect time because they know it doesn't exist. They build their routine like a fortress. They master their time like a warrior sharpens his blade. And they show up again and again, even when nothing is happening, even when it feels like they're walking in the dark, because they trust the process. Do you trust yourself enough to endure before you can enjoy? Can you move without applause? Can you walk through the desert when your thirst for results is killing you? Because that is the test. And wealth only shows itself to those who pass it. That's why gratitude isn't just some feel-good idea you post online. It's a weapon. Gratitude is how you stay rich in spirit before the world pays you in cash. It's how you stay grounded when the storms come, and they will come. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's moving. It opens your eyes to momentum, to opportunity, to the small wins you might have overlooked. And in the world of wealth, energy is everything. Gratitude is energy. You attract what you are, not what you wish for. When you complain, you block the flow. When you envy, you poison your own potential. But when you live in gratitude, you unlock a magnetism. You stop chasing and start drawing in. That's not philosophy. That's physics. Energy flows where attention goes, and attention is a currency. Most people spend it on nonsense, on gossip, on fear, on scrolling through highlight reels of other people's lives. They waste their mental wealth every single day and then wonder why success feels so far away. You want real wealth. You must become rich in attention, rich in focus, rich in mental discipline, because wealth will not reward your desires. It will reward your standards, and most people have low standards for themselves. They tolerate delay, they tolerate mediocrity, they tolerate fear disguised as logic. But every time you tolerate something beneath your potential, you teach your mind that greatness is optional. It's not if you want to build a life that matters. Not if you want to become someone whose name echoes beyond their time. Not if you want to own your future, and if you do, you must become adaptable, because the path to wealth is not a straight line. It's a labyrinth. It twists, it burns, it tests. And if your identity is built on perfection or predictability, you'll break. Adaptability is the trait that separates survivors from casualties. Look at history. When industries collapse, when economies shift, when old systems die, those who thrive are the ones who pivot, not with panic, but with power. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, and each one of them came back stronger because their vision bent, but never broke. They adapted, they evolved, and in that evolution they found greater wealth than they ever imagined. You have that same capacity, but only if you stop clinging to the version of yourself that's afraid of change. Growth requires death, the death of old habits, old beliefs, old stories, and most of all, the death of your excuses. You don't get to keep your excuses and your wealth. You have to choose. You don't get to be a victim and a visionary. You have to decide. So who are you becoming? Because that is the question wealth will ask of you. Not once, but every single day it will ask, can you keep growing when things get hard? Can you reinvent yourself when the plan breaks down? Can you become a student again when the rules of the game change? Because they will change, and you must become more than just disciplined, more than just focused. You must become resilient, not the fake kind of resilience people post about online. Real resilience, the kind that bleeds, the kind that gets back up when it doesn't even remember why it started, except that something in your soul refuses to let you stop. That kind of resilience builds wealth, because that kind of resilience builds you. Resilience isn't born in victory, it's forged in fire. When your plans collapse, your friends vanish, and your progress seems invisible. It's what shows up when the world turns its back and you keep building anyway. When they count you out, but you count yourself in. That's the edge, not talent, not privilege, not luck. It's refusal, a deep, unshakable refusal to stay down, because wealth doesn't care how many times you fall, it only cares about how many times you get back up and learn. Learning is the currency of this new age. The wealthy are obsessed with learning, not school, not credentials. Learning, you want to get ahead. Study those who've done what you want to do, not casually but like your life depends on it. Turn your car into a classroom. Turn your phone into a library. Kill your ego, kill your distractions, and feed your mind with weapons of thought, because ideas are weapons. One idea can buy your mother a house. One idea can change your bloodline forever, but you only get those ideas when your mind is trained, alert, focused, constantly expanding. The world will pay whatever you ask of it, but only if you become someone it cannot ignore, and that comes from learning faster than you earn. Read, listen, observe, but most of all, apply. Knowledge without action is poverty in disguise. You don't get rich by knowing. You get rich by doing what you know. There are people less talented than you, less educated than you, with fewer connections than you, but they're living the life you dream of. Not because they're better, but because they move. They took the leap, you're still debating. They made the call, launched the product, took the loss, and learned failure. That's just tuition for the wealthy. They don't fear it, they invest in it. Because every failure sharpens the blade. Every lesson becomes leverage, but most people, they run from failure like it's fire. They stay in the safety of average where nothing hurts and nothing grows. You were not built for safety. You were built for significance. That's why there's a storm in your chest when you imagine more. That's why you can't shake the feeling that you were made for something greater. Because you were. But greatness has requirements, and one of them is courage. Courage isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's the quiet decision to keep showing up when everything inside you wants to quit. It's making the investment when you're scared. It's speaking your truth when your voice shakes. It's betting on yourself when no one else will. You think the wealthy never feel fear. They do. They just don't obey it. They use fear as a signal, a sign that they're stretching, growing, moving beyond the limits of their former selves. They feel it and move anyway. That's the code, and when you live by that code, something changes. In you, you stop chasing permission. You stop negotiating with your destiny. You start commanding your life. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. Because when your mindset, your habits, your standards, your words, and your actions are in harmony, you move like a force of nature. You don't wish, you will. You don't hope, you hunt. And that's when wealth finds you, not because it got easier, but because you got stronger. Because the truth is, wealth was never the goal. The real goal, who you become in the pursuit of it. A disciplined mind, a courageous heart, a soul on fire with purpose. That is the real treasure. The money, it's just a byproduct, a consequence of mastery. And when you finally taste that, when you become that version of yourself, you realize the greatest return on investment wasn't the income, it was the identity that you were the asset all along. So, guard your mind like a vault, protect your energy like royalty, feed your soul like your future depends on it, because it does. The game is mental. It always has been. It always will be. And now you know the truth. So now you know wealth was never just about money. It was never just about luck or timing. It's about becoming someone the world can't ignore. It's about building the mindset, the discipline, the vision that attracts everything you once thought was out of reach. Because in the end, the true return on investment is not in what you earn, but in who you become. You are the asset. Your mind is the vault. And your future, it's waiting for you to rise. If this message lit a fire in you, don't let it fade. Hit that like button, drop a comment with the word awakened if you're ready to rewrite your story, and subscribe if you're committed to mastering the mental game of life and wealth. This channel is for the visionaries, the builders, the brave souls who know the world doesn't need more followers, it needs more leaders. Thanks for listening. Now go build the life you were born for.